Hello, everyone. This is part 2 of session 24 of Pre-Socratics to Augustine, also called History of Philosophy 1. In the last recording, we talked about one way in which the very, very famous discussion about Kataleptic impressions reaches out to Stoic physics, and how this discussion that is mostly situated in epistemology really has ramifications in the larger proposals of Stoic physics and Stoic accounts of nature and the world. Now, today we want to explore connections between Stoic epistemology and ethics. And the upshot of all of this conjointly is to reflect a little bit on the fact that Stoic philosophy is highly systematic. The Stoics think of the world as fundamentally knowable. And they think that a good way to live in the world would be to genuinely and fully understand the world and then become an integrated component of the world, a part of the world that moves through it in ways that are, as it were, harmonious with the world order, or how the world moves if it is entirely guided by reason. Of course, there are components of the world that don't move by reason. For example, stones, which don't move by themselves at all. They move by being externally moved. And plants don't move by reason. They only move with the movement of growth. And animals don't move by reason. They only move through perception, and so on and so forth. But human beings have reason, and it is our job, according to the Stoics, to perfect our reason, such that we move by reason in a way that integrates us perfectly with nature. That is a very ambitious goal, and it comes with the goal to understand human nature, to understand the nature of the universe, and to understand how both relate. Now, there you see that physics and ethics are closely connected, because really, in order to lead a good life, you study physics. And we saw in the last recording how physics and epistemology are related, because there is this idea that really every item in the universe is different from every other item. So ideally, when we ascend to this is such and such, or this is that, we identify these items as the specific items they are, rather than being in danger of mistaking one for the other. Now, the epistemic norm that one should only assent to kataleptic impressions is a really rigorous norm. It means that the ideal Stoic agent is often going to suspend judgment. And this notion, suspending judgment, is a notion that is at the center of skeptic philosophy, because the skeptics then, of course, argue, well, your ideal agent, the Stoic ideal agent, actually is a skeptic, because your ideal agent is going to suspend judgment all the time, because there simply are no kataleptic impressions according to the skeptics. And you can imagine that if you were to sort of try just for one day to not accept anything that in the mental representation in which it is, as it were, cognitively accessible to you, is not entirely precise and entirely, as it were, communicating to you that this is how things are. If you were not to accept anything other than those kinds of representations, maybe there would be a lot of moments where you suspend judgment. So the norm to only assent to kataleptic impressions is a hugely demanding norm. And the idea that one would suspend judgment if one doesn't have a kataleptic impression could seem to leave you at a loss. And at many occasions, it could be that, well, if I'm suspending judgment, then what am I supposed to do? Because it would seem that taking things to be the case somehow orients your actions, orients how you respond to the world, and so on and so forth. So if you were really only to assent to kataleptic impressions, it could seem that this is disorienting and that often you just wouldn't know what to go by. So the homework assignment for today is just to reflect on the rigorous norm only to assent to kataleptic impressions and to ask yourself how it is reflective of the Socratic instinct that we studied earlier in the semester, not to put forward any opinions without knowledge.